Welcome to Interesting Enough. He is Trey. I am Nolan. Thank you guys so much for joining us once again. If this is your first time listening to the podcast, thank you. We're on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, Google, all that good stuff. So check us out anytime and, of course, interact with us on social media. Trey, man, what's going on? How you feeling?
Man, I'm feeling good, man. You know what I'm saying? We just got done with the college football playoffs, seeing who's gotten in. A lot of controversy, but hey, at least Miami, even though we're not involved in that, so I'm feeling good.
We're not involved in that at all, but we definitely got to get into it because we talked about it last week. So we're gonna get into the college football playoff. That's really the main reason why we've been dropping this pod. We got to get into all the reaction. We're gonna get into some NFL news. We had a couple big matchups to get into, but Trey, we haven't really talked about music in a little while, and we haven't really talked about Drake. And we usually try to cover the big hitters. So I know you wanted to bring up the Drake album. I know you listened to it. So, he did the regular album. And then, of course, you got the Scary Hours. So, what's your feeling on Drake lately? I know you had something to bring up with it anyway.
Yeah. So, anyway, last week, I think you and I, we had a group chat and we were discussing our Apple yearly playlist. Basically, it just tells us what we listened to mostly this last year. And
by the way, for everyone, because that sounds like probably a different language to them. Yes, that's our version of the Spotify Wrapped. Yes.
Thank you.
I know everybody. It's got to be the Spotify Wrapped. But by the way, sorry, Trey. I got to the Spotify Wrapped thing.
No, take it away.
Yeah, the Spotify Wrapped thing has gotten out of control. I'm not. Listen, I don't even like to say it because if I say that the Spotify Wrapped is out of control, everyone's just gonna ask, "Oh, it's probably because you don't have Spotify." You're right. I don't have Spotify, but that's not the reason. I just don't know why it's that big of a deal to have to post it so we have to see everyone's Spotify Wrapped. I don't dislike it or anything like that, but as much anticipation as people have, I'm not really seeing it as of why. And it's not me being a hater. It's just really not that exciting for me. So I don't know. But anyway, sorry, Trey. Go ahead. That's just something that now that you brought that up for that whole last week, that's all I was seeing on social.
No, I feel exactly the same with you. But no. Anyway, we had our little, I'm just gonna call it Apple Music Wrapped Up, and I saw, at least personally, that I had listened to a lot more Drake than I expected. He was the number one artist that I had listened to. So anyway, I was just kind of surprised about that because my feelings about Drake.
Mr. Drake doesn't have a classic album.
Yeah, I still believe that, and I feel like he's getting kind of stale. But long story short, he released, I'm not going to say a new album, but he released 5 new songs on his latest album, maybe a couple weeks ago. And I just wanted to know what you thought about it, because to me, they were okay, but it wasn't anything to write home about. I haven't listened to them again since they came out. They were okay at the time, but I didn't think anything else of it. Did you?
Oh, I loved it. Absolutely loved it.
Oh, what do you mean by love? Would you put it on your playlist?
Absolutely. So here's what I feel. So For All the Dogs, I thought was a pretty good album. Let me put it in perspective for everyone. I think For All the Dogs is better than that other one with the pregnant woman on the front, Certified Lover Boy. That's definitely better than that. Can we agree on that? That was better than that.
Yeah, but Certified Lover Boy might be one of the worst ones, but yes.
Okay. So that's fair. I'm not saying this is to the level of some of the other previous Drake projects. I'm just saying it was, you can listen to it. There were some good songs on it. Obviously, we got the Cole feature, first person shooter. I thought, Trey, the features, I think we talked about this. I thought the features were really good on For All the Dogs. For the most part, I thought the features were well placed, and I liked most of the guest features. I think Scary Hours is what I wanted For All the Dogs to be. For All the Dogs didn't really seem like it was for all the dogs. It seemed like it was for all the ladies. Did you? I got that. That's the vibe I got when I listened to For All the Dogs.
You know what? And that's a good way to put it. It really was for the ladies. I have to be frank. It's for the ladies or the man whores. It was one or the other.
Yeah. So when I'm listening to For All the Dogs, when you come out with that title, that's what I'm expecting. And I'm like, this isn't really For All the Dogs. I mean, it's a good project, but it's not. This isn't what I was expecting. Scary Hours 3 is what I was expecting. You got Drake, Petty Drake, Trey in his bag, Drake. And then, of course, you remember how I mentioned that I liked the Cole feature with first person shooter? But if you remember, what I mentioned was I kind of wanted a more, for lack of a better term, a more chill beat and them just going back and forth and rapping. Well, that's what we got with the second feature with them two together with the song's called Evil Ways. That so if you want to compare the two Cole and Drake songs, that is the second song. That's the one what I was expecting the first time, and I love that song even more than First Person Shooter. Even though First Person Shooter is a banger, you can listen to it at the gym and like to get you hyped up. But that's the one when I wanted to listen to when them just going back and forth lyrically. So I'm actually surprised, Trey, you didn't like that project better than the For All the Dogs, because like that seems like more of your alley, because we're kind of similar in that way. We just kind of want to hear something more, a little bit more melodic, and them just rapping.
We do. But you know what? I think it is too. Like, I've had time to think about it since that Apple Music Rap came out. I think, even though it sounds kind of contradictory, since I just mentioned that Drake is the most listened artist I have this past year, but I'm listening to his old music, and I think it might just be a me thing. It's not you, it's me. I think I just might be kind of tiring out of Drake. Like, I've just heard so much of him where I'm like, I need a break.
Right. Yeah, I mean, and that could be a reason for it too. I mean, you know, your palette does change, and I do feel like I don't really agree with everything Joe Budden was talking about in relation to Drake, but I do feel like some of his music, sometimes it comes off as a little lazy. Like, it doesn't feel like he's putting his best effort. Like, when I hear certain songs, I'm like, did this really have to make the cut for the album? Like, that's what it kind of felt like. Like, I'm listening to, like, I think it was like 7969 Santa or something. There's like a couple songs on the album. I'm like, why was this even on the album? Like Bahamas Promises, like what like these songs did not need to be on the album. Like, these are nice for if you're dropping a little EP just to like show us you're like working in the studio, but like those are not songs. Because in comparison, when I listen to what was the song that he dropped was it 8 a.m. in Charlotte, Trey? Like, when we heard that, we were like, okay, he's coming with it. You know what I'm saying? Like,
no, I was excited. I thought he was coming.
Right. So when I hear 8 a.m. in Charlotte, that vibe is kind of what I get with the other Scary Hours, the Scary Hours edition songs. So like when you get like Wickman and the Shoe Fits and like those songs where he's just like rapping for 4 or 5 minutes, it's not as exciting for everybody, but I did like it. But again, Trey, you just listened to For All the Dogs a couple weeks before that. So I think it's one of those things that I bet we could actually table this. I bet if you circle back to just the Scary Hours part, maybe sometime in the spring, I think you'll have more of an appreciation for it, because you're just coming off of listening For All the Dogs and probably being a little disappointed.
And that might be what it is. Like, I might just need to take a break, then just listen to the Scary Hours part, and then I might be like, okay, I'm cool. Like, this is actually a good, I guess, addition to the project. Yeah.
And I suggest everybody that listen to the Scary Hours as like a separate thing, like those 5 songs, and evaluate those 5 songs. And then I also do think, Trey, we got to give the Drake credit with this. I know sometimes we are like critical about Drake's album, but like sometimes you look back, and even with Certified Lover Boy, there's still a couple songs that I listened to like months later and stuff that I thought I would never listen to because I didn't like it at the time. So sometimes you do got to give it a little space to breathe. And I know we're big on that. Like, we got to let the music see if it breathes. These are just our initial reactions. So like that is something fair to point out. May not be in love with it at the time, but anyway, but I know you wanted something that did hit though right away. Trey, that Collar Grove 2, that Wayne, and that
I felt
Chainz,
like that was in 2010.
That Wayne and that Chainz, kind of. First of all, I don't know if you heard about. I don't know if you heard the Meek Mill and Ross one, but the Meek.
No, I haven't heard it. I'm kind of off of them, but no.
But I feel like you got to give them at least a listen, just because of the history they've had well in the past. I'm gonna just give you a teaser, Trey. It's okay. There's a couple bangers on there. I liked it for the most part. It's a nice vibe. But like the Collar Grove 2 is the one. That's the one, Trey. Like, you want to hear Wayne rapping like we used to Wayne rapping, and Chainz rapping like we used to Chainz rapping. This is the project for you. And the first Collar Grove track, I didn't realize it was like 2016 when it dropped. So it's been like years since they actually did that project. And I thought that one was good, and that one aged well too. So I think this one's going to do the same thing. And while Drake's project got most of the love and the attention in the press, this is actually the project everybody's got to listen to and pay attention to.
You know, I am disappointed that he's not as big in the culture as he was, 5 or 10 years ago. So I don't think enough people really gave this album a shot. I don't even think there's a couple friends I can name that we both know that didn't even know this album came out. So like, I think that's part of the issue as well. Like, he's just not in the forefront of people's mind anymore.
Right.
But this Wayne album, like, it had new beats, like beats that you would hear in 2023, but rapping for like 2013, where you're using the metaphors and all the lyrical play in the music. And I was just I was impressed, to be honest with you, because I didn't really know Wayne could really still get in his bag like that.
I think he's been hinting at this. You probably haven't paid attention to it too much, but like I'll always like pay attention when Wayne has a guest feature here and there. And I was very critical of Wayne, let's say like around 2017, 2018. I thought he was just dropping features that were subpar. And you know, when it's Lil Wayne, one of our goats in our generation, I'm like, he may be the goat of our generation. I'm expecting more. And I think slowly but surely I would hear in guest features here and there the last couple of years, and I was like, man, he's kind of back on that stuff. You know what I'm saying? So he hinted at this. And by the way, a slept on thing, Trey, we may have to do this in another podcast. I just want to leave you with this. Low key, 2 Chainz does not have a bad project. Like, when I say that, you may think like, oh, I'm probably crazy. But like, just listen to what I said, and like, at some point, just go back and like look at the project and look at the tracks. Like, Loki does not have a bad project. Which
I'm
like
thinking in my head, no, he at least normally has about 3 or 4 songs, and each project at least hits.
Yeah, like I'm not saying every project's gonna be the greatest ever. I think he has a couple excellent projects, like specifically Pretty Girls Like Trap Music, that Pink one. That joint.
Yeah, no. That was a phenomenal project, right?
That's an elite album. Like, and then I know a lot of people didn't listen to the next one, Rapper Go to the League, but I thought he did his best rapping period on that album. Like in terms of just bars, like we used to hear in 2 Chainz was just fun bars. I thought he did his best like rapping on that one too. So like back to back, those are really good projects to me. So like Loki, when you look back, and even on the True Religion stuff, like he doesn't really have a bad project. So that's underrated when you look back at 2 Chainz discography. Like you're never gonna think about him on the level of, I mean, even when he did the versus battle with Ross, like, you know, you're gonna think of Ross on a different level, but like low key, he's got bangers on bangers. So like that, he deserves credit for that. But speaking of 2025, because I just want to get off the music thing for a second. But speaking of future, Trey, we got the GTA 6. We got the GTA 6 trailer.
Oh, they did it so bad.
We got the GTA 6 trailer. Okay, give me, because we talked about this a little bit before the pod. What was your initial thoughts when you saw the trailer? Your honest thoughts.
All right, I ain't gonna lie to you. This is my first thought. Damn, they put a lot of black people in this game. Like, no. And like, be real, like GTA, like other than San Andreas, like you'll see black people, but you don't see them like at the numbers that we saw them in this game. I'm like, damn, we got a lot of us in this game. And then I saw us, and I was like, damn, they ain't painting us in a good light. But at the same time, you can tell that this GTA game is based off of Miami. And I'm gonna be quite honest with you. Everything they showed is true to Miami, and true to us and what we do in Miami.
What are you alluding to?
You know, I'm not even gonna put that in words. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, everything that they put about Miami was true. Like some of
the gold, I'm even gonna lie, the gold in your mouth, it's twerking on the top of the cars, the Miami Wicks, and if anybody knows about Florida hairstyle, you know what I'm talking about when I say the Miami Wicks. Like, yeah, I ain't gonna lie to it. They gave us an actual depiction of what we be doing in Miami.
Yeah, I thought it was. I think the biggest thing for me, beyond just the game, why are you giving me a trailer and the game is not coming out for 2 years?
I ain't understand that, man, because I'm like, oh, this game better come out this summer. Okay, bet.
And then my whole thing is like, and then you see all the posts, people are like, well, I got to survive until 2025. Because like, what am I supposed to do all next year? I know the game's not even coming out. It's kind of like, this is even worse than the NCAA football games when they keep teasing us for the game coming out, but at least they don't drop a trailer and then tell us the game's coming out 2 years from now. Don't drop the trailer unless the game's coming out the following year. Like, that should just be a general rule. And then I see upcoming post Trey, and it's like all the things to look forward to in 2025. Like there may be a Shrek 5 movie, Fantastic
Four. I thought it
Four,
Toy Story or something. I'm like, break up out of here.
Avatar 3, another Fast and Furious, because obviously we don't have enough of those. Blade, another Spider-Man. And I'm like, why are you guys all telling me things that is happening in 2025? How about you tell me what's happening in 2024? Because what am I supposed to do? Go into hibernation for the next year?
Bro, we literally ain't even hit 2024 yet. Like, come on.
So that was my only complaint. Like, it took away from the steam of being excited about the GTA trailer, because everybody's been waiting for that. Especially
but it did look hard. Like, you got to be honest.
No, it did look hard, but I'm gonna forget about it. Like, what am I supposed to do? Like, I guess.
With Nolan, listen, when we online playing NCAA football, you're gonna forget about this.
Yeah, I mean, if they listen, we both don't game as much as we used to. But if they drop both of those, I mean, listen, I'm off the grid, right? Like I gotta get locked into those games. I mean, those are iconic games growing up. But I will say this: I am sometimes afraid of those games when they drop because, like, is it just nostalgia? How I'm gonna feel about that game because our expectations are gonna be so high for specifically NCAA and GTA because of what we remember it as. So if it's not even like a perfect game, which chances are it's not gonna be, it's a new experience. And again, you experienced this game as an adult, not a teenager, not a 13, 12, 14-year-old kid.
Well,
So
like you said, I don't game as much as I used to. So this is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna buy NCAA as soon as it drops. It's gonna be the same thing I did with 2K. If I don't like it, I'm gonna put it down. I ain't play the game for like 3 months.
you're like,
It's
it's not
gonna
a
be
big deal.
okay. I'm gonna keep going on. My life is gonna be good.
Right. So it's no pressure. Like it's a win-win for you, basically.
Yeah.
No, that makes sense. Yeah. But yeah, hopefully next time we get on the podcast, we can actually talk about some upcoming stuff in 2024 because the only things that I hear upcoming in 2024 are usually negative at this point. So, but yeah, 2025, if we lucky enough to make it there, we got some big things coming up. But speaking of big things coming up, we got the college football playoff, Trey. We got the announcement. Everybody knows the Ford SN. You got Michigan 1, Washington 2, Texas 3, Bama 4. No Florida State. No Florida State, as we alluded to and anticipated last podcast, as I dropped a clip saying as such. What was your immediate reaction, Trey?
Okay, first, I think we need some nuance with this argument. Two things can be true. I think that's what you have to tell yourself. Florida State is not one of the best teams in college football at this moment when you factor in the injuries. They should have been in the college football playoffs because they are in a Power 5 conference and they did win 12 games in a row. Like, there's nothing else you can say about it. They did what they were supposed to do. They got screwed out of it. Now, as just a casual viewer, I'm ecstatic that they got screwed out of it. I'm not even going to lie to you because I told you last year when it came to TCU in Georgia, I didn't watch it. You want to know why I didn't watch it? Because I knew it was going to be a blowout. And I didn't think it was going to be 70-7, but I knew it was going to get ugly. It would have been the same thing this year. Like, Michigan would have destroyed FSU. It would have been 30-3. I don't want to watch that. Like, give me Alabama, give me Jalen Milroe. Let me see them go against Michigan. This will be a good game. We have two really good games. Don't mess it up by putting Florida State in the college football playoffs. Like, if anything, you saw the Michigan players' reaction when they realized that it wasn't going to be Florida State they were facing, it was going to be Alabama. I think that told you enough as is.
Here's my whole thing with the argument. People are like, Florida State deserved to be in. Well, this is kind of the same argument that we have when we're talking about the All-Star game and like players that get snubbed from not making it in. Well, if Florida State deserves to be in, who is supposed to be out?
Alabama.
Alabama?
Yeah. Listen, they had one loss, and the unfortunate part is, even though I think they had a tougher schedule than Texas, they had mashed up counts, so Texas would have got bumped in.
You can't leave here. Okay, we got to be fair. That obviously everyone knows the system was flawed to begin with. You have a Power 5, 5 powerful conferences, and only 4 spots.
Yeah,
so at some point, this situation was going to happen. They're lucky that this hasn't happened at this point. But really, to be honest with you, in a perfect world, if all 5 of these Power 5 conferences had all undefeated teams, what were we supposed to do then? You know what I mean? Like, let's just call it what it is. So it was a flawed system. However, we can't act like, forget we thinking Bama is better, right? The strength of schedule that Bama has, even in a down year for the SEC, is still tougher than what Florida State had to go through in the ACC. And then they also struggled in the ACC, which is a weaker conference.
Did you see that Louisville game?
They forget Louisville. I'm talking about the games when Jordan Travis was playing. They struggled against Clemson. They struggled against Miami, right?
Well, Miami's a great team, so that doesn't count.
All right, come on now. Let's just call it like they struggled against teams in the ACC. Now again, you deserve credit for winning these games, but I'm also not saying that they're at TCU. Like they're not that weak of a team or weak of a conference per se. But we gotta be fair when we're talking about the strength of schedule and who they're playing and who they're not playing and how they perform, because it does matter how well you beat a team. Because listen, Texas went ahead and dominated Oklahoma State, and they left no doubt. They didn't just squeak by Oklahoma State. They left no doubt. Now, obviously, Florida State's in a different situation. They don't have their quarterback to do so. But the two things I'm going off of is, what do they look like when they did have their quarterback? Yes, they were winning games, but they didn't dominate. They didn't
Yeah, they look
dominate
okay.
games. They looked okay. I can find games where Alabama dominated games too, and then there's also games where they struggled, but they won. But then they're also playing in a different conference. And then when you go by, like, and Trey, you made a good point last time. You went by, you're like, hey, they're going to go off of recency. When we watched the ACC championship game and the SEC championship game, because all of us were watching all three games, Alabama won by 3 points against Georgia, who we can all agree, Trey, is one of the best four teams in the country. I know they're
Oh,
not
without a
in.
doubt. It
They're
just
not
it sucks that they lost there. Yeah.
right. That's the if anything, they have a really big gripe too, because they're like, yo, like we have won what 29 or something so straight
29
games,
straight games.
and we lost one game, and the way the cookie crumbles, we can't get in. And we all know we're one of the four best teams. And at least they would have had it. We're not even talking about if Georgia gets in, it was in there. They probably would be favored against everybody that's not named Michigan. That's probably the only team that they're not being favored against, and that's even a possibility. So they have a legitimate gripe. If we're Florida State, I understand the logic of we deserve to get in, we accomplished what we were going to accomplish. But life sucks, man. Your quarterback got hurt, and that really sucks. Don't get
And
it.
nobody
Don't.
wants to watch you when you only can put up, was it
And,
15 points against a bad Louisville team? Like, you're going to really destroy the playoffs. Like, Michigan was
it,
going to get an easy win. That was it.
but here's my point. It stinks that your quarterback got hurt,
It
right? It
does.
stinks. But the reality of the situation is you are not the same team without that quarterback. And we're not just going off of maybe. We've seen you literally not be the same team without that quarterback and struggle to win games after that quarterback is gone. It's a different conversation if Jordan Travis got hurt and you were still rolling with your backup quarterback and still winning games by a touchdown or two. You struggled in the games without Jordan Travis with the little evidence that we have with these two games. So what else is the committee supposed to do if you struggle against Florida and you struggle against Louisville and they are inferior compared to the teams that are going to be playing in the college football playoff? What else are there to do?
No, I agree 100% with you. And like you said, the thing that also we have to take to effect is Florida State's best win against LSU was Alabama's third best win because Alabama also had to play Ole Miss and Georgia, which they both beat. So it's just like strength of schedule. I'm just going to be honest with you. I'm an ACC fan because I am biased because, I'm a Miami Hurricanes fan, but the ACC sucks. Like
Yeah.
it's almost a G5 conference. Like
And,
it's a
and
lot
listen,
closer to G5 than it is P5. I'll leave it at that.
and listen, these things goes in ebbs and flows. We would have had this conversation about the Pac-12 2, 3 years ago.
Oh,
So
exactly.
you know what I'm saying? Like, and now the Pac-12 was by far and away the best conference this year. It wasn't even close. They were the best conference. And you look at Oregon. Oregon's probably one of the best four teams in the country, and they only lost to Washington twice.
And
And
Washington has a legitimate chance to win it all. So if they do win it all, it's like, okay, you lost to the best team in the country twice.
and not only
Big
that,
whoop.
they lost by 3 points on the road, and then the second one they lost on a neutral site. So that one's obviously super valid as well too. But they got a Heisman Trophy candidate and a quarterback. They all their games when they played teams that were good, they didn't just win. They dominated. They dominated Utah, right? Like they dominated these teams. So like Georgia, or like if we're just picking the four best teams, we could do it that way. So I understand Florida State and these other schools' argument, but Florida State is not one of the four best teams in the country. And I don't think we should just let you in just because you deserve to get in. I know that sounds really crappy. I don't think you should just get in just because you deserve to get in and just ignore the fact. Like this is different. Here's the difference. If Jordan Travis was their starting quarterback and he was healthy, and let's just say for the sake of example, Trey, they did struggle against Florida and they did struggle against Louisville, but they did have their starting quarterback. They just didn't play well. I
They
think
still
that they
get
should.
in.
I think they should get in. I think they should get
They
in.
don't know that they do get in, so we give them the
Right.
benefit of the doubt.
So that's my point. It's like we just can't. And of course, everybody's seen they have the provision in the college football playoff with the committee that they can make decisions based on current recent circumstances and who's playing and who's not playing in personnel. And that's what they did. And that's pretty what they did. And look, I would have loved the situation where Alabama can get in, but you again because Texas beat them, they have to be in because they beat them, right? Like that's part of the head to head. And listen, this is really the last time we're gonna have this discussion because thankfully the playoff is changing. But Florida State, if I was a Florida State fan, I would feel exactly how you feel. So I'm not like it makes sense how they feel the way they feel. But go ahead and prove it against Georgia. I know, Trey. We talked about it. There probably some guys are gonna sit out the bowl game anyway. But go ahead and prove it. Go ahead and prove it if you guys are so good. Because if you go ahead and goes lose against Georgia and you get blown out, I don't want to hear it.
Oh, no, no, no. I think they're going to get blown out. Now, the weird thing is, again, I think, not to bore people, but Jared Verse, Keon Coleman, Johnny Wilson, a lot of their good players are going to not, they're going to sit out. So, like, if they do sit out, it's going to be weird to kind of gauge how good they would have been. But
Right.
and I still think even if you have all those players, you're going to get blown out by Georgia anyway. So I kind of still don't care.
It's just a tough situation. But again, we don't have to have this discussion next year. We're going to be glad to open this up. So that's going to be a big thing. But Trey, let's move on to the actual playoff. I mean, I'm happy about the matchups per se. Between the two, is there one that you're more excited for over the other? Like, what's your general expectations?
So
'Cause-
I guess I'm on a.
Yeah, because I guess you got Michigan. So you got Michigan with Alabama, just to remind people that is listening. So Michigan is going to be playing Alabama, and then you've got Washington playing Texas. So those are the matchups that you've got going on here. I think both on New Year's Day. So you got those. So neutral sites. You know what I'm saying? I think you got the Rose Bowl is going to be Michigan and Alabama. Washington and Texas is going to be a Sugar Bowl in New Orleans. So I mean, of course, we're going to be excited either way. But is there one of the two matchups that's something standing out to you? Like, what's just some immediate takeaways when you saw those matchups outside of the controversy of Florida State not getting in because that's what dominated the news cycle.
Yeah, and I'm tired of hearing about that.
Yeah,
But I guess I'm gonna go with Michigan and Alabama just for namesake. Like those are two what we call bloods. Like they've just always been dominant in the sport of college football, and to see those two go head to head again, it should be really interesting. And they kind of have similar teams. Like they are really big in offensive line and defensive line. Defense is their calling card. They have running style offenses. Both of their quarterbacks have some issues, but they're both very mobile and athletic. I think they're really similar. Whereas the Washington and Texas game, I don't know if I'm ready to pick yet who wins, but I can see that being a blowout game where I can see the Michigan and Alabama game just because of styles being a lot closer.
for sure. I will say. I mean, obviously, we don't have to predict it. Yeah, we got a lot to look into the matchup. I'm gonna go the other way. I'm excited for the Washington Texas game a little bit more, and here's why. Congratulations to that winner. They're going to be the champion of the Sugar Bowl, but they
Ooh.
will not be winning the national championship.
Oh, okay. I was like, I don't know about that one. Okay,
They
okay.
will not be winning the national championship. So, congratulations to Michael Penix Jr. or Quinn Ewers, whoever team wins that. It's been a great year. It's been a great year. You won the Sugar Bowl. That's a lot. You made the college football playoff in the last year. It's 4 teams, but it's over. It's over. The winner of Michigan and Alabama, they're handling this no matter what. And I don't care which way it slices. I don't care which matchups. It's not happening. Those two teams are so fit. Now I will say this: if Texas is the one that comes out of that game, because Texas has already beaten Alabama, they have experience against a physical team like that. They got a shot. They got. I'm not just gonna be like they just gonna get blown out. It's not gonna be in that situation. I think they will lose, but like they got a shot because Trey, you and I can agree on this. I don't know if you're. I don't think you're necessarily the biggest fan of Quinn Ewers, but I will say
Yeah,
this: if you catch Quinn Ewers, if he on the right day, Quinn Ewers looks like the best quarterback in the country. We've seen that on the right day.
I agree with you in that sentiment. But then 10 minutes later, he looks like
Right.
a
That's the
deer in
problem.
headlights.
That's the problem. So I don't know. Like if he catch him on the right day, he can outplay any quarterback in the country. Like that's what that is.
But you know what's so
So
funny about that comment? I just want to say something real quick.
mhm.
I feel like that same sentiment works with Michael Penix, it works with Jalen Milrow, and it works with I can't even think of JJ McCarthy. It
No, no,
works
no,
with
no,
all of
no.
them.
So I got to disagree. Here's what I'll say.
Oh,
Michael Penix has been consistent all year. He's
no,
been
no,
consistent. Yeah, he's been
but he's been
consistent all year.
consistently where he should have thrown like 2 interceptions a game. Like they haven't been getting caught, but if you put some pressure on him, you said it yourself, he can get
Yeah.
shaky.
No. Okay. Here's the difference. I just think Michael Penix. It's if you get pressure on him, I think he can make some mistakes. I sometimes think it's not a pressure thing with Quentin Ewers. I just think sometimes he's just like a gunslinger and he just makes certain throws. I'm just like, why? You know what I mean? Like it feels different in that way with him. With Milrow, like we talked about, I just think he has some general accuracy issues, and
But he makes
that's
some
what it
throws too.
is.
You're just like, why would you even do that?
But they don't they the Alabama offense feels like it's more of a, and we'll get into this as we do predictions, later on in the year. But it feels like they hit the big play, but they don't really hit like the easy throws in
No,
in
no,
a
no, they
way.
don't. They're
And
big
it's kind
play,
of
like they're a big play offense.
right, and it's kind of the opposite because we're used to Alabama with the AJ McCarrons and Greg McElroys, where they were hitting all the layups and then they just weren't hitting the big plays. So it's kind of like the opposite. And then with Michigan, I'm high on JJ McCarthy. I know I'm higher than you on that. I think he's not asked to make a bunch of big throws a game, but when he
But
does,
why?
that's not because that's how they run their offense. You have two stud running backs in the best offensive line in the country. That's not JJ McCarthy. That's nothing to do. I promise you. Like, that's not because they don't trust JJ McCarthy. You have that good of a running game. What else are you gonna do? And by the way, every time he's asked to make a big throw, Trey, he makes the big throw. This isn't last year. Like, this year, he's done that. This
He
year he
does, but
has
he
done that.
still has some questionable decisions where I'm like, why would you even throw that? He's, I will give him credit. He's coming up. He's coming up at the right end of those plays.
Okay,
But
let me ask you this: of those four quarterbacks, who do you trust the most? Now that's a good question because like we just basically
probably
dissected all four of them.
I'm gonna go. Oh, I'm probably gonna go Penix first, and then McCarthy second, and then
Okay, that's fair.
yeah, then maybe Ewers and Milrow. I guess yeah.
You know what? I would go. You know what's funny? I just feel like Milrow will play well in a big game. I don't
No,
know
no, I
why.
don't have any doubt about that. I just don't think he's. I hate to say it like this. I just don't think he has the ability to make some of those throws. But it doesn't matter when you can move like he does too.
And the thing that JJ McCarthy does have, though, he does have the college football playoff experience from last year too. So he
And he
probably
has
won't be
mobility too. Like he's not a statue back there. He can move as well.
right. So
Sneaky athletic.
honestly, I trust those two even more than the other two guys. But like I said, I mean, it's going to come down to a lot of different factors outside of the quarterbacks. But it's just an interesting thing to talk about. But yeah, man. I'm excited for the playoff nonetheless. But I want to thank everybody so much for joining us once again. We got a lot of stuff to get into. Oh, Trey, actually, before we get out of here, we didn't even talk about the NFL. Eagles 49ers. We got to
Okay, I
touch
just
on
thought we were
that.
going to skip that. I was like, okay, I'm
No,
not
no, I
going to
forgot. I
interject.
did forget
Okay.
about that. What do we feel differently about the Eagles because the 49ers obviously dominated that matchup. Everybody was looking forward to it. We know the history with them in last year. How much stock should we be holding into that matchup because of how bad it looked?
So what I would say is this, to answer your first question. I don't feel differently about the Eagles. I feel differently about the 49ers. It was just a situation where to me, I'm like, okay, I didn't realize you guys were that good. I don't think it was necessarily the Eagles playing bad. I just thought the 49ers just flat out outplayed them. And I think you do have to take something into it because the Eagles at that point yesterday, I think they were 9-1. Like they were the best team in the league. And then the 49ers, we do know they had a 3-game skid and
Yep.
you can't ignore that. But I'm gonna say outside of that 3-game skid, they've looked like one of the best, if not the best teams in the league as well. So like I think you have to take something with it. Again, I just think that if the 49ers, if they're able to stay healthy, and I know we say that about basically any team in the league, but I really do mean this with the 49ers, if they're able to stay healthy, I think that they should win it all. I'm hard pressed to see a team that's better than them on paper. You have Brock Purdy, who is a good, maybe great quarterback. I'm not gonna call him great yet, but at least good.
Oh no, don't do this. Don't do this. Don't even put that into the atmosphere.
Hey, we'll say that topic for another day. Well,
Yeah,
he's
yeah.
at
Let's
least
the
good.
Brock Purdy MVP talks. We could slow that down.
I
I've
didn't
been
say
hitting
that. I
that.
didn't say that. I didn't say
No,
MVP.
no, you didn't say that. I'm just saying like I've heard that. Like let's
Okay, yeah, third that to you.
yeah.
But then, like, look at his running back. Like, look at his receivers: Kittle, Brandon Ayuk, Debo. Like, he just has a team. Like, I don't know what to tell you, and he fits that team. And he doesn't make the mistakes that other quarterbacks would that would put that team in danger of losing.
Can I just ask you a quick question because it came to my mind?
Yeah, go ahead.
In a vacuum, Brock Purdy or Tua?
Tua.
Okay, thank you. Okay, I just want to see where your head was at. I just want to see where your head was
No,
at.
no, no,
Okay.
no, no. But again, it's almost one of those things where it's like, do I think that you're necessarily the best player in the league? Like, I'm gonna give you a perfect example. When Dirk Nowitzki won that title in 2011, he was nowhere near the best player in the league, but he fit that team so perfectly that it didn't matter, and that team was the best team in the league.
But again, we're talking about a great play. I know what you mean with example
Yeah, yeah,
wise,
but
but
I'm just
yeah.
saying, like, I think Brock Purdy fits the 49ers so well. Like, he fits them like a glove in a hand. Like, it just works.
And listen, I'm not going to disrespect him, although he did just throw two short passes that went 70 yards. So you know, not his fault. You got to
And
you
like I said,
that.
it's the other guys on his team that are helping him. I admitted that.
Yeah, the best player on the field was Debo Samuel. That wasn't even close. He was the best player on the field. Best player on the field that day. He came out with the black forces. He handled business. Brock Purdy is not asked to do much. However, the good thing with Brock Purdy is it's kind of like the JJ McCarthy argument. He does make some couple big throws in the game that makes you feel like, hey, this is not just having Jimmy Garoppolo out here. Like he's extending plays, he's making some things happen. So
He's better than Jimmy G. I'm sorry.
right, that's a good thing. Here's the only problem I have with the 49ers, and I won't go that far saying they're going to win it all. Because of course, as you know, I'm on the record on the podcast saying that they're not going to win a Super Bowl this year, and their jig is up. That 3-game stretch, Trey. The one thing, there's two things that they had in common that they cannot have happen. One was the injuries, which every team has the injury bugs, but they had Debo guy got hurt there. I think Kittle was, I think it was Kittle was hurt.
Did McCaffrey get hurt? I
I
can't
think it was
remember.
McCaffrey. They had like a handful of those. Trent Williams
Yeah.
definitely got hurt. So like they had a handful of those guys get hurt. So obviously they can't have that happen. And once Brock Purdy didn't have those guys, he looked real regular. Second, he had the turnover bug, Trey. He was making a couple of those throws that was unnecessary. And then when he was trailing in games, he was unable to drive his team down the field. For the exception of the Browns game, he did drive them down the field and they missed the field goal. So he does get credit for that. But he had an opportunity in the Minnesota Vikings game specifically and didn't get that done. And my point for bringing that up is this. In the playoffs, it's kind of the Lamar Jackson argument people have. Even though these teams are really good when they're ahead, as every team is good when they're ahead. But as we've seen with the 49ers the past couple of years, they've looked like this, similar to this, and then they get into the playoffs and they get against a really good team and they find themselves maybe down in a game. And that's where having that elite quarterback set you over the edge, and they were unable to do it. Now they're hoping Brock Purdy is the guy to do that, but to this point, I haven't seen that. So until I actually see that, I still feel the same way about the 49ers. They're a great team, and if they get ahead on you, they're going to beat anybody in the league. But I got to see him in a playoff scenario at some point, or even in the regular season, if he has to come and have a couple fourth quarter comebacks, that'd make me feel more comfortable. But to their credit, their roster's so good that we just never have to see it. And at least we used to say that about Jalen Hurts, but we've at least seen Jalen Hurts this year have overcome adversity and been injured and come back in games and win. So like that's something that we've shown that we can put that argument to bed, but we just haven't been able to do it pretty. You know what I mean?
Yeah, and it's still, again, we have to see the proof is in the pudding. Like we have to see it with our own eyes. But I think he's shown me enough now where I can say I'm at least confident that I think he has the ability to do that. I don't think you can rely on him the whole game, but if he needs to make a pass here and there, if you're down by a touchdown, I think he has the ability to do that.
Well, listen, I'm not asking him to do that the whole game. I mean, heck, we're even asking too much out of Patrick Mahomes to do everything the whole game, as we can see. You know what I'm saying? So, guys need guys. Quarterbacks need guys to throw the ball to, and they need talent. So he doesn't obviously have to be a superhero, but sometimes you're gonna have to make some big plays. To this point, he's done some of it, but I think it's fair to ask that we got to see a little bit more before we crown this guy the king that everybody's trying to do right now. So, we'll see how that goes coming up. But anyway, I want to thank everybody so much for joining us once again. Again, check us out on Apple, Spotify. We're on all the platforms. We love when you guys interact with us. We had people interact, Trey, with our picks, with our playmakers picks. So we love dropping that stuff for you guys. We're going to continue to drop graphics, drop a bunch of different content for you. So let us know what you think. And on the way out, of course, I will swing it to Trey.
Again, guys, thank you so much for listening. We really do love this, and we love the interaction. That just helps us so much. Please continue doing that. But again, until next week, peace.
Peace.